Welcome back to Crazy Dave's Crew. I'm Laura, and you're watching Thirsty Threads. So have you ever looked around your sewing room and all the scraps that you've got and just been overwhelmed? Yeah, me too. But let's talk about that today. And the only way to handle it is to get through it. So I was downstairs looking through my sewing room, and I found a bag full of scraps, found a tote full of scraps, and then I was given this huge garbage bag full of scraps. And so I want to thank my friend Pam from Joann's and my friend Cheryl from church. Anything that was big enough to be used in our women's ministry for making the pillowcase dresses and all that for different areas was given to the church. And then Cheryl had gone through everything, and she sent the smaller pieces back to me along with some other stuff. And I've been having a wonderful time these last couple of days, and it has been a couple of days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 4 days. We're going on 4 days now. But I want to show you what I've done, how I've done it, and of course you know what you are going to be working on. So you probably can't follow me exactly on it, but I can kind of maybe give you some peace when you're looking at this mess. So I'm going to pull everything off to the side so that I have room to work. I have my iron. I have a iron surface. I'm going to turn this on. And I went to Dollar Tree and I picked up some little baskets. And I really like these because you can put things in it and then they can stack on top. What I'm also doing, I went through my books and on the internet, and I found 3, 4, 5 scrap buster patterns, because I have plenty of ideas. You know, you can always do the 4x4s, and you can do 9 patches and then do a disappearing 9 patch, but I wanted to try something different, something other than my old standby. Oh, as always, you can do string quilts, and there are videos about the disappearing 9 patches. There are videos about string quilts. And I've also had a video about leaders and enders. And a lot of these little pieces are going to be perfect for leaders and enders. But we're just going to go through some of this and talk about it. And I'm going to have some little baskets. I have already, I used my AccuQuilt for the tea tiny pieces, and I have got a bunch of little hexagons, and I have some medium hexagons, and I'm trying to sort everything out. I'm trying really hard to be organized. One of my next projects, and what I did is when I printed out or made a copy, I am fortunate enough that I do have a copy machine and a printer here at home. So I printed out some patterns. So I know, as I'm going through my scraps, that I want some 3.5-inch squares. And for every 3.5-inch square, I need 2 1 5/8 inch squares. So like this one. And I just put them in here as they come. So I have 2 3.5-inch squares of this fabric, and I have 4 1 5/8 squares. And I'm going to want a background. So I've got, and I found this huge amount of yellow, which I thought would be really pretty to go together. So, like I said, I know what I'm doing with these. And boom, there's my pattern. Two 2.5-inch squares are always safe for me. Again, I have a plan for these. The pattern I'd found actually said it was supposed to be 3-inch squares. Well, I'm going, I know what to do. I know how to adjust it. So anything that was little, big enough to make 2.5-inch squares. And of course, as I found red, white, and blues, I kind of put those off to the side because I was thinking, you know, those would be really great for a Quilt of Valor. And then I have another project coming up. And again, I know in my head, and I've got my patterns here in their little baskets, that I need 2.5-inch squares and 2.5 by 6.5. So as I'm looking through my scraps, I'm trying to keep this in mind of what I need, what I'm going to be working on. And then these are just, isn't that great? They just stack together perfectly. And this way I've got everything together. I'm going to put that one on top because that's the next one I'm working on. And just trying to be organized. Oh, also, the really teeny pieces, I used my AccuQuilt again to do 1.5-inch squares. Make a postage stamp quilt. Very time consuming, but again, these will be great for leaders and enders. You know, maybe you're tired and you can't think. Well, just sew the squares together. You know, you can do that while you're watching TV, so you can still be sewing and playing with your fabric and not having to worry about everything matching up. Just make sure you're using the same 1/4-inch seam allowance. So this one is a long-term project. But again, anything that's really tiny, I just put on that die and run through the AccuQuilt. So what am I going to do with all this other stuff? Well, I'm going to go through it piece by piece and just kind of glance and go, ooh, these are 2.5-inch strips that I had cut. And some of them, oh, actually some of them are not 2.5, some of them are less. But, let's see. These would be great for strip quilts. These would also be great for doing 2.5-inch squares, but I'm just going to kind of roll these back up. And I'm going to put into one of my other baskets. Oh, I found some squares. I'm going to set these aside and measure them. Oh, I have a strip. This could probably be put through my AccuQuilt for 1.5-inch strips, so I am going to go ahead and press this and set it aside for working with my AccuQuilt. And I'm just going to set that right over here. And I have another one. So I'm just going to kind of look through and see if I've got strips, if I have big pieces, you know, what all I've got. And my big strips, I'm just going to lay nice and neat in this basket. It was really exciting going through these bags because I found some rather large pieces. Now there is one piece I'm not 100% sure what to do with because I don't do a lot with the characters much anymore. I used to, but I don't really. I honestly, this has actually been sewn. Well, maybe, you know what? This is a start to a pillowcase dress. So this one definitely gets its own section. And for me to work on that. So we'll put that aside. But I got some rather large pieces. Need some nice little strips. I have some triangles. I think I'm going to set those aside and put them in their own little boxes. I may want to just sew up some half square triangles. This one, I think we're going to run through the AccuQuilt. So again, we're just going to kind of press and set it aside. And like I said, I've gotten just the prettiest fabric. Going through my own scrap bag, I was like, oh, I remember that fabric. Check that out. Actually, I don't think that one is going to be big enough for the AccuQuilt, but it could be for a scrap quilt, a string quilt, or a crumb quilt. So let's make another little stack for crumb quilting. Aha, there's another project we can do. So we're just going to kind of go through. Oh, there's another 2.5 inch strip. And if it's not, when I go to use it, I'll measure it and I'll use it for something else. There's another one. Okay, that needs to go in the garbage. I'm sorry, I'm not going to save that little piece. But you kind of see what I'm doing? Anything that I think is going to be a hexagon or it's too small for anything else, you know, I can always use it for the postage stamp quilt. Or I could cut this into rectangles or squares and use in a crumb quilt. But the first thing you have to do is kind of sort out what you've got. And there are some things, this is one of the bags that was given to me, there are some things that I'm going to look at and go, you know, I don't think I want to use that. The bag that was given to me had 3 yards of a knit fabric. Well, I'm not going to use that in a quilt, but I might use it for a top. I'm not the greatest about making clothes, but how much fun is that going to be to try to make a top and learn? And I guess I've got some reds, got some more big triangles. Oh, look at that one, isn't that pretty? It looks vintage reproduction. Oh, same with these. We're going to set these aside. And I even have some little squares that were already done. So again, here comes another basket. Because at some point I've got to go through, I have, I don't know, 15 tons of orphans. And you want to talk about a scrap quilt, is making a quilt, putting together all your orphans. Oh, I'm going to have to sew that one down, but we're going to press it. I found a Dresden plate block. It's not a finished one, but it's almost finished. Again, look at that. I think that looks very vintagey. So we're just going to kind of press that. I'm going to put all my vintage stuff together. Real pretty purple color. Got some red. Let's see, what else have we got? Oh, in here. So this is definitely something where somebody was working and making something. And I am loving these fabrics. Look at that. So Cheryl, Pam, and any of my other friends, if you are overwhelmed with your scraps and you don't know what to do, here I am. I would love to have them because I have had the best time. And the ideas that I'm coming up with, it's time consuming. It's a little frustrating sometimes when you're going, I don't know what to do with this piece. Well, if you don't know what to do with it, find another little box or basket to put that in. You'll find something. And like I said, the tiny selvage edges, I'm not keeping. I have in the past donated my scraps and things just to make some room in my sewing room. My goal right now is I want to try to use as much as I can of everything that is out in the garden, that's going to be out with the rabbits, that's going to be in my sewing room, that's going to be in the kitchen, that's in the bathrooms. Whatever I can do to stretch resources, to be a good steward, I'm going to. I've got to really stretch it. Look at here. I'm going to finish up with this bag. Ta-da! One bag down. One little bag down. And listen, I'm loving these. These look very vintagey. And I think those would make fabulous. I'm not 100% sure what size I want to cut these. And since I'm not sure, like I said, I'm going to put these aside and make a decision later. Because I've already got, let's see, 2 sizes of hexagons, a sweet pea. I've got the postage stamp. I've got a bunch of 2.5-inch squares for a project. I've got my 2.5-inch squares and 6.5 by 2.5-inch rectangles. A lot on the plate, so like I said, I'm going to separate. Sit down and just separate some things so I know what I've got. And then I can plan. So let's put all the vintagey looking into this basket, and I'm just going to lay these in here kind of flat. I'm loving these. These are great. So now I have a little basket with vintage scraps. I have a basket with strips, 2-inch to 3-inch strips, whatever it is. I have some little orphans, crumb quilt, and then I just need to go through and find homes. Oh, these are some big strips, mostly. There's a little one, so we're just going to put that there. I know, again, doing Quilt of Valor, I'm probably going to use these, but I'm going to set these aside and put these in with my other strips. Okay, let's see. Oh, again, some little schnitzels, and I will get my scissors or something and kind of cut off these little edges. Because these little edges here, I'm not going to do anything with. So let's just kind of cut those off. And we'll put that in a little stack. Yeah, let's put this in with the crumb quilt. These can be weird sizes, can be improv, with what they call an improv block. They can be a crazy quilt. They can be a crumb quilt. I'll actually have enough there for some squares or some hexagons. We're still going to put this in with the crumb quilt for right now. Oh, there we go. That one's a nice one. Oh, and that's actually got some nice pieces to it because it was folded. So I think this one can go through the Aggie quilt, or get some 2.5-inch squares and some hexagons and some 1.5-inch squares. So let's press that. And again, your method for choosing what pieces to keep and what pieces not to keep, that's going to be your decision. You are the only one who knows what your upcoming projects are. Like I said, I've already got it in my head. I did some research. I printed out patterns. I've made copies of some patterns. And I really like a couple of these books that they've got all these quilt blocks in them. I think there's one that's like 5,500 quilt blocks. So there's all the old ones, the new ones, all the different names. So those are really great. And going through that, I'm finding non-copyrighted blocks. And I said, I can just play to my heart's content and know I'm not wasting the really good fabric. I'm playing with the scraps. But I believe they're still going to be it's still going to be really pretty. I was reading an article and it made me laugh. And I don't remember who it was. If I did, I would tell you and actually direct you to her site. I'm assuming her. But she said actually scrap quilts, she thinks are harder because there's so much planning that needs to happen. Because sometimes you'll find scrap quilts where it looks like someone vomited crayons. You know, it's just is no coordination, no thought put into it. Now, me, I think those are great. But yeah, I can also see that you want to try to make it look as good as you can. So there's another strip, and I'm still just working while we're talking. And I am probably saving smaller pieces than what you guys would. Like this one. Believe it or not, I could use that. Maybe. I'll have to think about this one. Because that could actually go into, it would be a very thin strip, but that could be part of a crumb quilt. That could be part of it. Got some crayons there. That can be part of it or part of a strip quilt. That one is be perfect for my 1.5 inch square. So let's put that one over here. Again, kind of some weird shapes going on, but believe it or not, you can get quite a bit out of that. I can get at least the medium-sized hexagon and 3 of the 1.5 inch squares, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4 layers. So that would be 4 medium hexagons and what, 12? 9 of the postage stamp. So I said we're going to put that aside. Oh, isn't that pretty? That's definitely going to be the postage stamp. This one looks kind of vintagey, so I think I'm going to put this one in with the vintage after I press it. Again, it could be a couple squares, it could be some of the postage, it could be a hexagon, but I think that looks kind of vintage. Same as this one. So, like I said, I've emptied one plastic bag, and now I'm working on the stack that's over to the side of me. I've still got this bag, and I still have one of these, which I like these real well, because when you're not using them, you can fold them back up. But, yeah, this is full. But when I get done, I will have everything much better organized. Let's see, these could be a hexagon or some 1.5 inch squares. Might be able to get a 2.5 inch square. So I said, don't rush yourself. I'm trying to get my ruler here. Don't rush yourself. Nope, I can't get 2.5 inch squares. But I said, I can get something out of it. So we're going to put that over here to the side, and that's fairly flat. Oh, and I already found a little one that got mixed in. So we're just going to put that over here into my little... This was a chocolate covered raisins tub. But there we go. There's all my little hexagons. And again, you're the only one who knows what you want, what you're going to do. There is absolutely nothing wrong with you just get rid of all of this so that you can move and breathe in your sewing room. There is nothing worse than wanting to make something and your table is just covered up and you can't move and you feel claustrophobic from all the garbage that's around. So every now and then we do need to do a purging. I'm way overdue. And I said I have not touched the surface. That one looks kind of vintagey. It's a tonal. But I think that's going to go, oh yeah, that's going to go really well with some of these other fabrics. So we're going to put this over here with the vintagey reproduction-y. This is one of the fabrics. I'm going to show you a couple of these that I got from my little box, from my bag from my friends. Wrong way. I had a nice amount of this one and a really nice amount of this one. And you want to talk about it being so pretty going together. And again, this one I think looks vintagey, so we're just going to kind of press it and put over with the other vintage. I love vintage reproduction. If you are ever in Cleveland, Tennessee, you need to check out Hyder Hangout. Say hello to Susan Hyder for me while you're there. Great lady. You couldn't ask for a more friendly woman. And it's a great shop. I found that she'd started it in her garage and she's worked her way up, and they just really great. And she would have some reproduction fabrics. There's another shop there called Betty's. Sadly, Betty did pass away a while back, but her husband and her daughter are running it. And when I first discovered them, all of their fabric was $5.50 a yard. The last time I was in there, which was a while ago, I'm sorry, I've kind of fallen down on visiting. The last time I was in there, it was $6. Every fabric was $6. They would have some scraps, they'll have fat quarters, they'll have a lot of reproduction fabrics. They have all kinds of tonals. I think that almost are reproductions. We'll put that one over there. So these are ones when I'd cut out some squares, probably for my stars that I did a while back. I used black and jewel tones. So this is one where I can just press these out so they're nice and neat. And there's a few things I can look at and go, yeah, I know what I'm going to do with that. And there's a few things that I'm going, I'm not real certain. So I'm actually going to put these over with my crumb strip pile. That's got the triangles and some weird shaped pieces. Because any of these can be in a crumb quilt. Let's see. Oh, these were from when I made the canning jar video, so I have some of that left. And that's really not big enough to do a whole lot with, but I can do a lot with it. So it's a nice big strip. When in doubt, I have seen a couple people online where they take their 2.5-inch squares or their 3-inch squares or their 2-inch squares and they just sew them together to make one big long strip. And they try to put colors that match and go together, you know. So like you'd have this one with the green, and then you might do an orange, so whatever's next to it, it complements. And then they use that strip as a border. So you have got this very colorful scrap quilt, and then you've got a plain color around it, and then you've got this wild and crazy piano key, colorful 184 Crayola crayon box pieced border. So do y'all want to see me go through some more, or are we pretty good? You haven't seen me cutting anything. I've just trimmed off a few little pieces. I've pressed some pieces because that is going to take less space. If you press and fold everything nicely, it will take less space. And you will look at it and it won't be looking at this pile of, I don't know what to do with it. Instead, you're going to see nice, pretty, usable pieces, and you can go, ooh, I got an idea. So definitely every now and then go through your scraps, decide what you want to keep, decide what you want to throw away. I personally would see if anyone at my church or local organization needed some scraps. Maybe there's a youth group somewhere, inner city, they're wanting to learn to sew. So give them some of your scraps and see if they can use those to sew. Use these scraps for you to practice new blocks so that you're not using, wasting your $8, $9, $14 fabrics. Practice with the basically free. Check out the thrift shops. You can sometimes buy bags of scraps. If you don't want to deal with it, donate it to a thrift shop. Donate it to, I personally love Samaritan Center in Ottawa. Everything gets given back to the community. It's run by Seventh-day Adventist, and I love it. If you happen to donate a naked Barbie doll, they don't sell naked Barbie dolls. They make sure they have clothes. They always dress the Barbie dolls. They do if you find a puzzle or a game at their shop, it has been checked for all the pieces, and you're not going to get that puzzle home and have a third of it gone. You're going to have all the pieces. It's been checked. You're going to have all your game pieces for your board games. And a lot of times you can find fabric because sometimes people donate it. And yes, this is confusing sometimes, but I have tried to make it into a game of, okay, I've got these coming up, and I'm wanting to actually walk you through from start to finish of a project. And the cutting part for me is probably the hardest part. And I want to make sure I have plenty and enough. So I've already got 3, 4, 5 projects cut, ready to go, possibly multiple versions. And it's all from my scrap pieces. The scraps that I had downstairs in this bag, and then scraps that were given to me by a couple friends. It's been like a little treasure hunt. I've loved it. How exciting it was to find some of these fabrics. They're ones I probably wouldn't have bought, but oh my goodness, they're so pretty. And how well they'll go together. And if I'm having a rough day, which I've had some pretty rough days over the last month or so. Busy, crazy, rough, confusing, unmotivated. For me to just have this basket of squares to just put together, I think that would have made me feel a whole lot better, and I would have been more productive. So we're looking for the rest of June, July, August to be fun and motivating and exciting projects. I'm not going to look at my sewing table and go, ugh, I don't feel like it. I'm going to be, oh, I can go play with my sewing machine. And I don't know about y'all, I always feel better. It's kind of like going down to the rabbits, playing with the rabbits. that's good therapy. Sewing machine, rabbits, scraps of fabric. Who needs a psychiatrist or drugs? You know, this is fabulous. And then when you see what you've made, you have a sense of accomplishment and a moment of, look what I did. If you have not watched Jeremy Clarkson's farm, now some of the language is a little coarse, but he's a Brit, and he does a lot of stuff with race cars and different things. Top Gear, I think, is one of his shows. But anyway, he bought like 1,000 acres, and he's not a farmer. But he has a manager, and he's got a hired hand who kind of helps direct him. Bless his heart, he bought a Lamborghini tractor. Yep, all the instructions were in German. But you got to see all of the stuff that he did and how he messed up. And you got to see the excitement that he had when his sheep were giving birth and he had to help one. You know, there he is, and he helps birth one, and he's standing there going, look, I made a sheep, I made a sheep. Because the language is just, it's occasionally coarse, a little, you know, a few bombs. If you can get past that and take that with a grain of salt, though, he's hilarious. He's endearing. Definitely doing what we want to do. But take your scraps of fabric and see what you can make. And when you get done, you go, look what I made. I made this. So I've got a little bit of work to do to finish up this afternoon. I want to at least get this other basket gone through, and then at least organize some of my stuff, consolidating what's left so I don't have it in a bag, a box, a tub, or just strewn out everywhere. Try to get some of it organized. So that is my project for today, is to finish going through. If you have any questions, again, it's not a whole lot. I can't tell you what to do with your fabric. That's one you've got to decide to do. Look at that. That would be good for a crumb quilt. Just a little piece. But you know what your time schedule is. You know what you like doing. And yes, I love going to the store and buying all matching fabric and planning out the blanket, but or block or whatever it is. That is so much fun. But talk about a little treasure hunt and thinking of what you can do with all these little pieces. So open up your scrap bag, take a look, see what you've got, and think about what you're wanting to do. How are you going to use it? Again, if you're not going to use it, give it to someone who will. I'm open and available. You know, hey, I'll do a lot with it. Or find someone local, or give it to a thrift shop. Sell it at a yard sale. You know, get a little bit back from what you've spent on the fabric. But like I said, you want to make someone's day is just give this to a sewist, a quilter, and she may look at it and go, ooh, I don't know what I'm going to do with all that. But give her a day or two. Let her spread it out and take a look at it and pet the fabric. She'll love it. Well, I'm going to keep going. I want to see if I've got any more little orphan blocks to put down with my orphan blocks downstairs. And we'll see what all I've got. I'm going to consolidate. I think I'll run a few things through my AccuQuilt. And then it may be time to go play with the rabbits, beat the cats, see if the cats had kittens yet. Pick a few cucumbers. And then go spend some time with my sewing machine. Well, it is a rainy day today. It's very dreary outside, but it is bright and colorful inside my house. So, hey, can't get better than that, right? I hope you're having a great day. I hope you've been inspired by the video. I hope you're not overwhelmed with how much scrap I've got. That over the last couple of years I haven't done anything. I've just been throwing it into a bag. And I love my friends who gave me some bags, some scraps. Like I said, it just, and I love, oh, that's, almost looks like a pineapple. And of course, there's so many different patterns for me to choose from that I will not get bored. And can definitely have a very scrappy, colorful, fun top that basically didn't cost me anything because I've already bought all the fabric or somebody gave it to me. I could go out and buy a quarter yard of 20 different fabrics and have as much fun. I could, but this is also a challenge, and if you're up to the challenge, go for it. Until next time, thank you so much for watching. Again, I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope you've been inspired. No, I did not show you my cutting, but I did talk about what I was doing and what is upcoming and kind of what I'm going to be doing with some of these. And challenge yourself and see what you can do. And again, hey, if you've got some that you don't know what to do with, I'll take them. That'll be fun. It will not go to waste. Until next time, I will say I see you later. Don't forget you can find us on Facebook under Crazy Dave's Crew, the Crazy D Ranch, Sewing and Crocheting for Beginners. And we love pictures, so maybe send us some pictures for Sewing and Crocheting or Crazy Dave's Crew of your scrap pile. What are you doing with it? Do you need any suggestions? And I'm quite certain any of our members in that group, they'll come up with all kinds of ideas. But what's your idea? Do you need ideas? So definitely contact us there. Post some pictures. We love pictures. What is your go-to scrap pattern? Most importantly, don't forget to come back. So I will see you next time right here at Crazy Dave's Crew. Thanks for watching Thursday Threads.